Hey there, truth seekers. I'm Larry Litton, your guide through the maze of modern politics and power dynamics on liberty, leadership, and lies. Each episode will challenge the narratives, expose the lies, and celebrate the leaders who champion true liberty. Get ready to question, learn, and maybe even change your mind. So let's dive into the truth together. Welcome, Patriots, to another hard-hitting episode of Liberty, Leadership, and Lies, the podcast where we cut through the noise, expose the truth, and champion the principles that make America great. Today, we're diving into a story that strikes at the heart of individual liberty and the abuse of power, a story that should make every property owner in this country sit up and notice. Our guest today is Mika Race, a servant leader and woman who, along with her husband Doug, found themselves in a nightmare battle against the city of Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. Their second home, a property they purchased as an investment and legacy for their family, was taken by the city through eminent domain. But this isn't just a textbook case of government overreach. Mika's story raises serious questions about corruption, malfeasance, and whether the powerful in Pigeon Forge, potentially tied to a prominent family name and the city's mayor, manipulated the system for their own gain. For those unfamiliar with eminent domain, it is the government's power to seize private property for public use, provided they pay fair compensation. Sounds straightforward, right? But what happens when the process is shrouded in secrecy, when a city demolishes your home before settling the price, or when the so-called public good seems to conveniently benefit a select few? Meek and Doug bought their property on Ogle Drive in August of 2022, unaware that the city had already approved a road project, the West Side Connector. That project would run straight through their house, apparently. They've since uncovered troubling details. Allegations the road's route was shifted to avoid land that was tied to a campground project, and questions about the mayor's connections to it, and a city that offered them $490,000 for a property they valued far higher, while bulldozing their home before even resolving the mortgage. Today, Mika's going to share her fight for justice, how she's taken on City Hall, rallied public support through YouTube, and expose what she believes is a rigged system. Was this just a bureaucratic misstep, or is there something darker at play? Corruption, malfeasance, or just the raw exercise of power by a city prioritizing tourism dollars over individual rights? We'll dig into the details, ask the tough questions, and explore what this means for liberty in America. So buckle up, listeners. Mika Race is here to tell her story, and it's one that'll make you question just how secure your property rights really are. Now, this will be an extended episode because I believe it needs to be put out as one solid piece, so you get the entire story at once and it stays fresh in your minds as you investigate for yourselves the apparent monumental abuse of power by some of the good old boys here in Sevier County. So lean in, folks. Let's talk liberty, leadership, and the pursuit of truth. Welcome to Liberty, Leadership, and Lies, the podcast where we unravel the complex web of politics, power, and deception. Each week, we dive into the stories behind the headlines, exploring how liberty is eroded and the selfishness of our political leaders, as well as the lies that shape our world. Join us as we dissect the truth from fiction by examining the tactics used by the new aristocracy, the political class, at the local, state, and national levels of government as we dare to challenge the status quo. Get ready for thought-provoking discussions, exclusive interviews, and a journey into the heart of what really drives our society. Liberty, Leadership, and Lies, where your understanding of the world begins to change. Tune in every Monday morning and prepare to see beyond the veil. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's kick off the episode today. We have a special guest, Mika Race, and she's going to tell us a story about, she'll get you thinking about what is really going on here in Sevier County, and more specifically with the city of Pigeon Forge. But Mika, let's start off by telling the listeners what was so special about that house there on Ogle Drive. Why was it special to your family?
Well, when we first learned about the property, um, through our realtor, obviously. She let us know, hey, there's this house. It's going to go quick. And it was 60 seconds from the parkway, zoned commercial. It was a little elderly widow woman that lived in this house. Obviously, we live in Ohio, and so we couldn't just, bounce there. So
Right.
she FaceTimed us, and we trusted our realtor 100%, still do 100%.
Mhm.
We've bought property before from her, very trustworthy realtor. And so she went to the property, FaceTimed us, and that's how we learned about it. And it, yes, it needed some work, but it had good bones.
Right.
And we're visionaries. So we
Right.
can see.
I followed a lot of the work that you guys posted up there, the remodeling and I mean, it was a really almost basically a complete gut and then rebuild, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
100%.
We're,
We spent 7 months of our life back and forth from Ohio to Tennessee
right.
every week.
Whereabouts in Ohio?
We're about 45 minutes south of Columbus.
Okay. So you're a Buckeyes fan?
My family is, yes.
You're not.
I'm just there.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, they're die-hard Buckeye fans.
Yeah, my wife is too. She's from just outside of Cleveland.
Oh, okay.
So her whole family's from out in that area. And so I got some Ohio ties as well. But us go back to the beginning. Our what happened? So that house, which was you guys completely gutted and remodeled, and then what happened?
So after 7 months of remodeling, the day that and people say like it can't that they can't be. The day that we finished the remodel, we had just finished the deck, and I had an appointment. I remember like it was yesterday. Had an appointment, and I came back, and my husband was at the gate talking to the neighbor, and he had this look on his face, and I knew something was wrong. And he said, "You need to come over here, and you need to listen to what she has to say." And when she told us, she said, "You guys don't know, do you?" And I mean, obviously, we're like, "What?" And that's when she let us know that, I mean, the road was going to go right on top of our house through eminent domain.
Through what I believe to be an unconstitutional power grab, but or land grab. But anyways,
100%.
so they
We'll get into that.
so you found out the day that the house was finished for 7 months of blood, sweat, and tears
Yes, sir.
that the city was going to take it.
Yes,
And the city knew it all along, though, right?
they sure did.
And let's get into the people there. I mean, because like I'm a resident of Sevier County, I know that you have to have the right last name to get anything done here. And who was the mayor at the time?
David Ware.
Wow, yeah, that's one of the Where's Valley Road and all that. That's the right last name in that county. So
And go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, you go ahead.
I was just going to add to that to make this, what happened to us even more. The day that we found out, this was March 6th, 2023, was the day that we found out. And so we go to City Hall, we speak to Assistant Eric Brackens, and he confirms all of the things he confirms. The next day, March 7th, 2023, Mayor David Ware, calls me. At that time, that was the first that I knew that he lived above us. So I could be on my back deck and I could look up and see his home. I did not know that was his home at the time. No idea whatsoever. So,
So he had a bird's eye view of 7 months of blood, sweat, and tears and didn't
yes.
say a word.
Yes, correct.
But apparently he did also have a bird's eye view of his campground, or a campground that's no longer in his name, but belong whatever it is. But he had a bird's eye view of the campground where the West Side Connector was originally going to go through.
Yes, sir. That the West Side Connector was, and obviously the complexity of this is so, and it's this is what I say, get a ball of yarn and start unraveling it. Because once we started diving into, because my gut from the get-go, from day one, I knew something wasn't right. I knew it in my heart. I knew it in my gut. It was my discernment that kicked in. Something's not right here. And obviously, through time, we found out exactly what wasn't right. And it did take us some time. It did. But with the West Side Connector, they said, so let's go back. So when we found out, Eric Brackens and, this road's been coming in for years. And, that's what they were driving that home. And okay, maybe so, right? Maybe so. But the road was always going through that undeveloped campground.
Right.
Always. So how far do you want me to go into this right now? Or you just want to ask me questions
You
and then
go as
I'll
far as
answer
you
them?
want. I mean, because so the West Side Connector, I know, has been on the drawing boards for I think a couple of decades.
Yes.
And but like you alluded to here in the beginning, the original plan for it was to go through undeveloped land, vice putting two S turns in it, two 90-degree turns in it to go over developed property.
Exactly.
Which makes more sense when you really actually think of it. Hey, let's build a road over where it's not going to impact homes, vice where it is going to impact homes. I mean, most city and county planners would probably plan a route that way. Until when did they say that they officially changed it? And was there a meeting that approved the change, or?
Okay. So July 6th. So we're putting together now a timeline,
Mhm.
uh, just to make sense to everyone. I've been invited on several podcasts
Mhm.
recently. You're my first though.
Okay.
You got, like, this is the first. I have on the 24th and another one. So which I'm glad because you're right there, right?
Mhm.
So July 6th of 2021, we have documents. That is when well, he's not the mayor now, but at the time he was, Mayor David Ware goes on the loan for Appalachian Springs LLC. He is a member. There are 4 members. This is July 6, 2021. July 12th, 2021, now somebody sent me this picture, I don't know, last year. The picture is timestamped July 12, 2021, and it's the original route that was going through that undeveloped campground. So somewhere between that picture, and October 25th or 26th, one of those dates, they have a public meeting. They want public comments on routes for the West Side Connector. So they go along and they put up these door hangers along the route.
Mhm.
That's what that's what they say. They
Mhm.
put up door hangers. The neighbor that told us about the West Side Connector, she did not get a door hanger. She found out through, I believe it was a neighbor or something. That's how she found out. Okay. So they call this city meeting for public input on the routes for the West Side Connector. Okay.
Mhm.
They present two routes. Route A is the pink route. Route B is the green route. It was, I think, 22 people showed up and voted, somewhere around there.
Mhm.
It was a 17-6 vote for Route A. Route A goes through the undeveloped campground.
Okay.
So that was the public wanted that route. It's even in, this was in the Mountain Press as well. The public wanted the southern route is Route A. So sometime between October 25th and November 21st of 2021, they come up with a hybrid route. And the hybrid route is what takes out our property. They didn't come back to the community. There was no vote on this road. So on November 21st, 2021, that's when the hybrid route was approved.
With no public comment, no public input, and no vote.
No vote. Now I will back this up. So they had a work session
Mhm.
on November 10th, I do believe. And on the works in this work session, it's at like 2:00.
Mhm.
The work session, they vaguely talk about the West Side Connector. It's very, very vague on like this hybrid route
Mhm.
and all. It's which what I'm learning now is that's
That's how they conduct business in Sevier County.
that's business as usual.
Correct.
I mean, I've come through so many, meeting minutes. It's so vague. So no, to answer your question, there was no vote. It was hybrid route. And going back to when they brought the community together and the community voted, they said, well, technically it wasn't a vote. That's what they say.
Mhm.
To me, this is my opinion, it was nothing but a smoke screen.
Okay.
That's all it was. It was a smoke screen because they didn't take what the public wanted.
Right. Obviously,
They,
right? Because if
they trashed that.
if they took what the public wanted, they would have went with the southern route.
100%. They would have went with that southern route. So the 6 people that was opposing the campground,
Mhm.
one of those was Jerry Ware,
Okay.
which, we all know that's David Ware's father.
Right.
Now, and this said property, our property. So I don't know if you know this might be new information for you, but our house used to be part of the Ware's homestead.
No, no, I did not
Not
know.
our house, our land.
Your land, right?
The land. Tommy Ware, David Ware's uncle,
Mhm.
that was basically his parcel of land, and he built the house that we bought.
Okay.
So that was at one time the homestead of the Ware family.
Mm.
If you could just get a big picture of this.
I'm already getting a big picture of it.
So November 21st was the vote.
Mm.
And we bought our house we closed on August 17th of 2022,
Okay.
9 months later.
So they knew the whole time that land was going to be condemned and bought, but they still allowed the sale of it for some reason, right?
100% they did. And it probably would be a good time to say this. So when on March 7th, of course you can imagine
Mhm.
at City Hall, when I found out, I had to walk out. I had to walk out. I'm a woman of faith, and I was not going to let this make me respond out of character.
Mhm.
So I told my husband, I said, I got to go. I got to walk out of here
Don't want to
because
blow my testimony in front of all these people.
no, I had to. I just because I knew even then I could see through it
Mhm.
that something's not right. Like I said, something's not right. So March 7th, the next day, that's when Mayor Ware calls me. On this recorded, thank God I had enough sense to record our phone conversation. I recorded every conversation that I ever had with any government official, Eric Brackens, every one of them.
Mhm.
Thank God. But that's when he let me know that when Miss McWhorter, the little woman, elderly woman that lived there, called him the day before she put the house up for sale
She,
and
oh,
asked
she,
him,
she called him.
she called him
Mm.
and asked him if he wanted to buy because previous years he had shown some interest in that in the house and she, she wasn't ready to sell it.
Okay.
So she calls him, says, hey, I'm selling my house. She wanted to be closer to her daughter. She was there by herself. Her daughter lived in Kentucky and she wanted to be closer to her daughter and her grandkids. And he said no. He said that it's not, and I think he said in their budget or at the time. But then he goes on to say this. He said, but then he said, why would I want to pay the price she was selling it for? I knew, and everybody knew that the road was coming through there. Why would I do that? Why would I just let the city just buy it off me? Something to that effect, he said.
Right. So he knew that he wouldn't have to spend any money, and the city's going to get it for the lowest amount possible.
Such a good point.
Absolutely. And while his other interest or the interest of a family member is protected.
100%. And I can say this, I feel like when we found out through, and I knew that John Ware, his brother,
Mhm.
was on that campground.
Right.
I knew that, but we did not know until January, January of 2024 that we could confirm that he was on the loan. And it's a $5.5 million loan.
That's definitely a lot more value assigned to that than your property. So who's going to, what are they going to defend?
And yeah, we're going to push the little guy aside.
Right.
We're just going to push them aside. And so somebody gave me the documents and it was anonymous person and said, I think that you might find this interesting. It was like 11:30 at night. And
Mhm.
I when I found out, my heart fell to my feet because that was what we were looking for. And the reason we couldn't find it was because there was a typo in the loan document. There was a typo.
So it was
And
misfiled.
yes, it was oh gosh, it was something it was I think it was uh Oak Oak Ridge or something, not Pigeon Forge.
Oh, okay.
But then they had to go back and amend it because then they had to go get more money. So the original loan was, I think, 1.6 or one something. I don't remember the
Mhm.
exact number, or 3 point something. So they had to go get more money. And then when they went and got more money, it had to be the wording
Correctly filed.
correctly filed.
Okay.
So that's when I had the solid proof
Mhm.
that he was on the financial loan.
And he still denies that he's a part owner, right?
He has denied publicly in the Mountain Press 2 or 3 times, we have the articles,
Mhm.
that he has no financial ties to the campground. His brother or his family does, but he has no financial ties.
How does he justify that if he's a member of that LLC that owns it?
Because he can't.
All right.
So he thinks, okay, so we went to March, this was March, sometime in March of 2023, because I was going to, from January 8th of 2024 until October, I think it was October 18th of 2024, I was going every 2 weeks to City Hall meeting. I traveled once because they took possession of the home on June 6th. I still, every 2 weeks, I was going to Pigeon Forge, going to the meetings and I would get up and I would look him right in his eye and tell him, I know who you are and I know what you've done. And this whole governing body knows. But so on the sometime in March, I can't remember the exact day of 2024, we're there, and he says that he quit claim deeds his interests.
Mhm.
He quit claim deed it.
Right.
However, nobody's ever seen the document.
Mhm.
He just dangles it like this. Nobody's ever laid eyes on that document.
And it's
But
never been
that
officially filed anywhere. So with a time date stamp of date of filing notice, which you do with every quitclaim deed. Every quitclaim deed has an official filing.
yes, yes. Um, but the whole, you know, thought about this is he can quit claim deed all he wants, but he's still financially tied. He still has his signature on that $5.5 million loan.
Right.
And the only way that he's going to get off that loan is to refinance it or obviously pay it off, right?
Right. And that hasn't happened.
If it has, we can't find the documents.
That's
We
that's the way
checked
they
about
operate.
3 months ago and it had not changed.
That, like I said, that's the way they operate here. They just hope that they can do delay, 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 delay until you just go away.
They should know by now I'm not going away.
And I think that truly does make them a bit nervous.
It should, because what we have uncovered, the paper trail with our timeline, it's disgusting. It really is disgusting. So we'll go back to when sometime between July 12th, 2021, that first initial picture with, and then Mayor Ware goes on that loan July 6th. And somewhere between then and the public meeting in October, this is when all of this, the routes, everything's changing. And we've got the paper trail. We actually have proof of John Ware, David Ware's brother,
Mhm.
because he's on the LLC as well. And we actually have the proof that he sends over to John, sends over to Eric. That John and Eric are going back communicating
Uh-huh.
about the West Side Connector. And Eric says, well, we're having a work session on this date. Bring your layout, bring your preferred route. That's what it's called, the preferred route.
Mhm.
Bring it to the work session. So John Ware gets a invitation
To
to
the
the work
working
session.
session. Right. Nobody else gets invitations to the work sessions.
No, half the people don't even know about him, right?
Right.
And they have him at 2:00, and most people work.
Correct.
And you're not going to be able to get to something at 2:00. So John gets a invite to the public work session and basically bring, and then John asks for the CAD design of the West Side Connector.
Mhm.
So he's asking, and he even says to help design the West Side Connector.
So John Ware is helping to design the West Side Connector with the computer aided drawings.
100%. We have solid proof. I will show you. I legit will email you the proof
Mhm.
of why this is so.
Well, I'm going to put a link in the show notes of your YouTube channel.
Oh, yes.
So make sure
Okay.
that people actually see that, because I follow your YouTube channel, so I see you presenting the evidence and the people need to see the evidence. I mean, Sevier Countyans, I think. I mean, I love the place. That's why I retired here. I moved here in July or moved there. I'm at work now. But in July 2017, after I retired from the Navy after 30 years, the one place I wanted to set permanent roots down was Sevier County. And then I get there and lovely people for the most part, lovely part of the country. But I think it is the most corrupt, good old boy network that I've ever seen. It's, and they do all of this stuff and they hope that nobody notices. And people like you, and I mean, I've given up in the political realm. So I'm just doing this podcast just to shine a light because, somebody asked me, hey, a friend of mine that was in the Navy, he asked me, what's going on with Sevier County politics? And I go, just think Dukes of Hazzard, but without Bo Luke and Uncle Jesse. It's just the sheriff and the mayor's running roughshod over everybody. Backdoor meetings. Let's approve this and use the governmental power of eminent domain is one of the worst abuses you can do. Because if you don't have personal property rights in this country, we don't have a country. We don't have freedom.
We don't. We do not. And our forefathers, I believe that they would be rolling over in the grave if they could see
Or they'd
the
be stacking bodies.
yeah, of now it's with eminent domain. And until I didn't even, prior to this, I
Mhm.
didn't know eminent domain. What is that? Right?
Right.
You don't know the word until I was faced with it. And now I can see where, these land grabs they're at a rapid rate. And say, for example, with us, they knocked on the wrong door. They really did. They knocked on the wrong door because ours wasn't just your typical eminent domain. It
Right.
it was clear that we'll knock these people out of the way and we're going to protect our investment,
The people with the right last name.
in my opinion.
Well, I mean,
I always say, it appears.
I understand it is in your opinion, but you know, correlation sometimes isn't causation. But in this case, it's clear because there is a track record, right, of these types of abuses by local governments in Sevier County.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I believe that, when I kept showing up
Mhm.
and then every 2 weeks to City Hall,
Which
and
is
then
a
the final.
significant expense too. I mean, Sevier County isn't a cheap place to come stay.
Oh, you can't even imagine.
Mm.
We have drained literally our life savings, and that's truth. That is just 100% truth. Well, not only because, so let's go back. So when we found out that day, Eric told us, halt everything, do not stick another dollar in the house, which that was too late. And he said, because, negotiations are going to be starting any day. That was his words verbatim.
Mm.
And so I'm trying to digest, like, we're going to lose our house, but it's coming, it's on our heels.
Mm.
And so from March 6th, because we were ready to start renting it out. Um, and this was going to be in our family for generations. It wasn't just like, oh, it was, we made this, the time that we had that house, we did make great memories in that house. And that's why we bought it. Was, yes, it was an investment, but it was more than an investment. It was building something to leave to my grandchildren.
Right.
And so from March 6th until the house was bulldozed down, we were spending $3,000 a month on this property to keep it going. Between the mortgage, all the credit cards, because $3,000 a month we
Right.
were paying. And even after they bulldozed down the house, we were still paying the mortgage.
See, I think what they were used to, and what's been it's not maybe a recent phenomenon, but the last few years has happened in Sevier County, is out of state people. They buy a lot of property sight unseen, and they don't visit them. They just use them for rental property. So they were probably thinking, oh, this is just another out of state family or out of state individual that bought this property. They're never going to come here. They're never going to see it. They just want it as an investment rental property. Then they get the Race family, who was actually going to use that as a legacy for their
Yes.
family,
Such a good word.
and
Yes.
they poked the I think they poked the wrong bear. And I've been following you since, I mean, since that phone call we had, was it, like 2 years ago, when I was driving
Yes.
across East Texas. And I'm like,
Yes.
this is a good story that we need to share with everybody, that this is not right. If, like I said earlier, if we don't have personal property rights in our country, it is not a free country.
It's not. And our rights are non-negotiable.
Exactly. They don't, like what that senator from Virginia said the other day, our rights come from government. No, our rights come from our creator.
That's right.
And our constitutions weren't written to govern the people, it's to limit the government.
That's
And
right.
they've forgotten that. Everybody in government, with a rare exception today, has forgotten that the Constitution of both the state and the federal, I don't even call it the federal government anymore, it's a national government. They Those documents restrict them, not us.
That's right. That's right. And they have forgotten. They have forgotten.
And they've forgotten mostly because it's our fault, because the people themselves, we've gotten into that circle of civilization where, strong men have created good times, and good times have created weak men. And the society is weak because they don't pay attention to what the government is doing to us. It's not,
Right.
it was supposed to be what the government does for us, which was protect our rights. Now it's the government doing to us.
Exactly. Exactly. And until we, the people, say no more and we link arms together
Yeah.
and remind them that they work for us, we don't. So that, in a nutshell, when we found out, and then obviously the day they bulldozed down the house, that they bulldozed down the house, I didn't know, and so I get a phone call from Tommy Ware, which is David Ware's uncle. So he showed up to so many of the city hall meetings on our behalf.
Mm,
He comes to every court hearing on our behalf. And so he called me and he was emotional because he built that house.
right.
And he said, well, I guess you heard. And I said, heard what? And he said, they bulldozed down your house. And so it was 3 weeks after. My opinion, 100% my opinion, it was vengeance, because David Ware could look down and see that house.
I
It was
saw
a
the video.
vengeance.
It's absolutely heartbreaking to see. And what's even compounding the heartbreak is you were still forced to pay for it while the government bulldozed.
See what happened. I know what happened is they put the cart before the horse. And I don't believe, somewhere or another, the mortgage didn't get paid off. I mean, that was against the law. I mean, you can't just go bulldoze down somebody's property. That's you can't do that. And technically, because they say the city owned it. However, if you or I went and took somebody's home and we didn't pay for it, we would be in jail because that would be theft. At the time of the taking, they did not give us one penny. We didn't receive nothing. Zip. And so when they bulldozed down the house, I immediately called our mortgage company on a recorded line. And I asked them if the house was still in our name, and they said yes. And I said, are we still financially responsible? They said yes. And I mean, obviously, I guess everybody was saying, well, I wouldn't have paid it. But then that would be on my credit. So then I would be trying to fight to get that off my credit.
Right.
And so
again, the onus is all on you when it should be all on the government.
Right. The burden was 100% on us. So we had to make the payments on a house that was gone. And so when we called, I called the clerk of courts that day as well. And this is all time stamped. And I asked her if the property was still in our name. And she said, yes, it is. She said, I'll send you what I have. And I said, okay. So she sends me. And that was the first time that we had saw the agreed order.
Hey, we're going to take your house, but we're not going to give you the order.
It was the first time we saw this agreed order that our old attorney and the city's attorney were going back and forth, deciding what was best for Doug and Micah Race. But Doug and Micah Race was nowhere in that conversation whatsoever. So we never laid eyes on this agreed order, which, said that we agreed to this, 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 and this, right? We didn't agree to it because we never saw it. So that was
for curiosity's sake. Was it a local attorney?
No.
Okay. Because then it would all fall into place.
No, he was not. But now I know. So straight from the beginning, when we hired him, so we went in contract with him in February of 2024, we immediately emailed him the conflict of interest. We let him know, hey, there's a conflict of interest here. We know without a doubt. This is the proof. We sent him everything. He had a fiduciary duty, from what I understand now from my current attorney, which, we've been with him over a year now, that he had a fiduciary duty at that point to investigate it. I know that, he was just after the just compensation.
Right.
It's clear, but we wanted to keep our home. We let him know, like, this isn't right. It's not right. And so when we saw that agreed order, that was the day it was like fireworks were going off. Something is majorly wrong in this picture.
So the first attorney was not fighting for your right to keep the house. He was just fighting for the just compensation. And it was your stated desire, yours and your husband's, that no, we want to keep the house. Fight this.
We stated many times.
Okay.
Like I on every social media, and we just put the road back where it was going. Right. Let us keep our house. But through open records, we've learned a lot.
Right.
And then when we fired our old attorney, that was the first. So when we fired him, and then I hired my new attorney, the first phone call between our current attorney, he said, I think you can get your land back.
Really?
That was the first I'd heard. I said, you think we can get our land? Yeah. So we're fighting to get our land back. Our next hearing is September 29th. That'll be our fourth hearing.
Now, the hearing that you got some, I don't know if it was good news or the hearing that was just recently, last few months. What was the outcome of the result of that? They wanted to look at it some more, or
Yes, so the very first hearing was May 5th. And I knew going into that hearing that the judge probably wasn't going to rule from the
mm,
bench that day because the complexity of everything. And if okay, because the old so get a ball or yarn. So the first judge that was assigned to that case was Judge Sloan.
okay,
He was killed.
right on the side of the road there. Okay, I remember that.
Okay. So then we had to wait to get another judge. We get appointed another judge and she has to recuse herself.
Oh, really? Why? What was the reason for the recusal?
Um,
They're probably some related somehow.
I believe I believe so. I believe that's what it was. It was somewhere in that. Yes. So she had to recuse herself. But then we got the judge that we have now. And so the complexity of it is because we never signed the agreed order.
Right.
If we never signed it, it's void. How
Okay.
can there be an agreed order when we didn't see it? We have proof the day that we saw, when the clerk of courts emailed us the agreed order,
Mm,
we immediately email our attorney and we're like, "Hit, what is this? We didn't agree to this." So that's our whole thing. And there are multiple things, but
mm.
so if the judge says, okay, we roll back the hands of time, the house is gone.
Right. You can't roll back the hands of time at all because the
They told
investment
us
is gone.
it's gone. So we could get the land back and the city would have to build our house back.
I would just this is my opinion. I would think that would be beautiful justice.
Amen. Hallelujah.
And
Um, so
then you could sit on that new deck, look up at city manager David Ware and wave at him.
I would be flying my appeal to heaven flag
That would be,
that we left with the property that went down with the property.
oh man.
But so May 20 or September 29th will be our fourth hearing.
Mm,
And I believe we're going to know that day if the land comes back to us.
that would be good news. The other option is if what would the judge do if that isn't done? Say, hey, that this is a fait accompli, and you have to accept the compensation that was originally offered.
He already set a trial date, so
Okay,
we would go to trial.
that would be, I think, your better option. I think that would be because most people, while they won't get up and vote these clowns out of office, I do think if they're put in a courtroom and presented all this evidence, I think the better out you would have the better outcome of that, you and your family.
Yes, yes. So we are honestly, we're trusting the Lord with the
Mm,
outcome because He knows more than we do. And so, whatever it may be,
mm.
it's going to be according to His will. And I have peace with that. I have peace that if the judge says, okay, no, but we've already got the trial date, okay. But then we go back to so we have the federal malpractice lawsuit.
Okay. I
We
guess
have
the first attorney.
the first attorney.
Okay.
Yes, we have depositions coming up the 30th of the month. So we have the hearing the 29th. We got depositions with that one on the 30th. And then we have the federal lawsuit with the city of Pigeon Forge and David Ware.
Okay.
And then we have the motion to get the agreed order overturned. So we have a lot going on.
Wow. The trials is the life of Job right now, I think.
It is. And when you're standing on truth, truth is your defense.
Right. And I see. initially, I've seen a lot of these people coming out. You should have just accepted the money. But these are people that just don't understand that it's not only the value of the house, it's the value of the blood, sweat, and tears that went into doing the house, and it's the lifetime value, because it wasn't just going to be a rental property, it was the lifetime legacy value for your family. And these people just don't understand. And then on top of all that, a lot of people just understand it wasn't R1 or R2 zoned. It was commercial zoned.
And which brings you to question, how did this piece of property get zoned commercial?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. When do you know when that happened, or
We have traced it back, I believe, to now don't quote me on this because so many dates, but I believe it was back to 2009, somewhere in that area. I believe so. I could be wrong on that, but so why did the property ever even get zoned commercial? I believe that it was a long-term plan, that this was all going to be part of the campground. It was going to be part of the resort.
Mhm.
And my opinion, totally my opinion, I don't think a road's ever coming on top of that house.
Right? That's what I was thinking when I found out that it was zone commercial. That's a If it's commercial zone, that allows a lot of businesses to be put in there, while the campground owners, the LLC, can renegotiate a sale of that portion and open up businesses along the new West Side connector.
Exactly. Exactly.
They're
I don't
dirty. They're just dirty.
do not think, if you are ever in the Pigeon Forge, which go down in there, go go on Ogle Drive,
Mhm.
the one where it's almost a one-way road,
Mhm. Right.
dead end road. We won't even get into that rabbit hole because you can go to the Pigeon Forge ordinance,
Mhm.
do some research on the Pigeon Forge ordinance of campground zoning on a dead end street.
Oh, that should be a good can of worms to open up. And
Oh, it is. So, and not only, going back to that, and I know you're probably about to close it up, but when they appraised our property,
Mhm.
they didn't appraise our property as commercial.
Right, which is residential is a significantly lower value than commercial.
Exactly. They appraised it as an R2, which is just an overnight rental.
Right.
This was commercial property. So like you said, just okay, so if that road were to stay where it was going, that land would have skyrocketed. It's commercial. We could have put anything on there.
It'd be another putt putt or go kart racing track or
I mean, you
a
could,
moonshine place.
yeah, I mean, it would have been unlimited what we could have done with that land. Not that we probably would have just kept it as a rental, but you don't know. You don't
Right.
know that. You don't know if you would eventually turned it into a store, a
Right.
boutique. Uh, you could have turned it into a store for the campground,
Right.
a
And
little convenience store.
I think that may be part of the plan that you interrupted by buying it.
Yes, 100%. So that's where we're at.
So you're fighting the good fight.
Fighting the good fight.
And
As long as the Lord allows me to wake up every day and gives me the strength to continue. This mountain has been the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life,
right.
because you wake up with it and you go to bed with it.
Yeah. So, I heard this from my pastor the other day. Faith, not only, faith as small as a mustard seed can move a mountain, but faith also gets you the strength to climb to the top of the mountain. And I'm a huge admirer of what you're doing. And I want to spread your message all throughout the county. I know a lot of listeners in the county follow this for the updates that I provide on the corrupt machinations of the correct last name crowd. But I, I wish you all the best.
Thank
I,
you. Appreciate that.
you will be in my prayers. I,
Thank you.
I follow your son's page as well, and I admire his strength and tenacity and his multi-talented. I guess his multi talents in doing all of what he's doing as well. And I really appreciate you taking the time to come on the show, and I hope we can get some good news that we can share with the audience as well after the September hearing.
Thank
And
you.
if you do, just reach out and we'll get you back on as soon as possible.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you so much.
All right, Megan. Well, you have a as good as a night as you can, and we'll talk at you soon.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
All
Bye
right.
bye.
All right, Patriots, as we wrap up this powerful episode with Mika Race, who's courageously fighting the abuse of eminent domain in Pigeon Forge, it's clear that the battle for liberty is alive and well here in Tennessee. Mika's story is a stark reminder of what's at stake when government oversteps its bounds, potentially fueled by corruption or favoritism towards the well connected. But there's a wave of hope rising in the volunteer state. And I want to close today with some incredible news for the cause of freedom that's got me really fired up. There's a movement afoot here in Tennessee, folks, a groundswell of principled leaders stepping up to challenge the establishment and defend our God given rights. Leading this charge is State Representative Monty Fritz, who just announced his candidacy for governor in 2026, throwing his hat into the ring against entrenched Nashville insiders. Fritz, a constitutionalist and Christian from Kingston, is running on a platform of shrinking government, slashing bloated budgets, and restoring liberty. He's not just taking on fellow Republicans or trans-publicans like Senator Marsha Blackburn and Representative John Rose. He's calling out the entire establishment for growing government at an alarming rate. 50% budget increases in 6 years under Governor Bill Lee. Fritz says it's time to put the common people first, prioritize small businesses over corporate welfare, and rekindle the thirst for liberty Tennesseans are craving. This is a man who's prayed over his decision, feels called to serve, and is ready to fight for a Tennessee that honors its constitutional roots. But Monty isn't alone in this liberty movement. We've got Gary Humble, a stalwart for freedom, once again challenging Senate Majority Leader Jack Johnson. Now, Gary's no stranger to taking on the establishment, pushing back against policies that erode individual rights and fiscal responsibility. His persistence is a rallying cry for those fed up with politics as usual in Nashville. And then there's State Representative Jody Barrett, who's running for Congress in Tennessee's 7th District to replace Representative Mark Green. Jody, ranked as the most conservative legislator in Tennessee history, is an America First fighter who's promised to take his unapologetic stand for life, liberty, and constitutional values to Washington, standing shoulder to shoulder with President Trump instead of putting out glossy flyers with a picture of him next to Trump. Anyway, now this trio, Monty Fritz, Gary Humble, and Jody Barrett, they represent a new breed of servant leaders stepping into the gap between the establishment and everyday Tennesseans. They're not just politicians, they're patriots who see the erosion of our freedoms and are answering the call to fight back. From Mika Race's battle against eminent domain abuse to these bold candidates challenging the status quo, Tennessee is once again becoming a battleground for liberty. It's a movement that says enough to big government, corporate cronyism, and the sidelining of the people's voice. As we close, let's take inspiration from Mika's courage and the leadership of Monty, Gary, and Jody. Tennessee's got a fire for freedom burning, and it's up to us to fan the flames. Stay engaged, hold your leaders accountable, and keep fighting for the principles that make this state and this nation great. Now, this week's wisdom from God's word comes to us from the book of Isaiah, chapter 33, verse 1. Woe to you, destroyer, you who have not been destroyed. Woe to you, traitor, you who have not been betrayed. When you have finished your work of destroying, you will be destroyed. And when you have completed your betrayal, you will be betrayed. My fellow Tennesseans, we are rising up against these special interests, be they the good old boys in Sevier County or the establishment elites in Nashville. We are standing up to restore freedom here in our beloved volunteer state. Now, these candidates, Amika, they cannot do it alone. They need our help. And first and foremost, the best way to help is that we can pray for their success. Pray that they prevail against the establishment. And if you're able, you can donate time or money to the campaigns of those three. All of us together can destroy the hold those elite people have on Tennessee and return us to our constitutional foundation. Now, thanks for leaning in today. Please subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen, and join me on X at Larry for TN12 or at Lies Liberty. As always, you can also visit libertyleadershipandlies.com for more. And let's keep standing in the arena for liberty, leadership, and truth. God bless you. God bless Tennessee. And God bless America. Until next week, Reveille, it's time to wake up.